Welcome to Mirror Domains, and this is the best movies of 2023, guys. 2023 already, my God. Yes, the year is done, and we are now in 2024, so Happy New Year's out there for everybody there. Our Glass Vikings in the live chat. Yes, this is a live show today. It's not much in the realm of movie news, and everybody's doing their best and worst list of the year. So I thought that's what we would do today. We would go over the best movies that I've seen. All the movies that I've seen are linked in the description. Well, put in the description. All 95 movies, guys. And I still got a few more that I have to go before, finishing off 2023. But for the most part, the bulk of everything that I've seen is listed there in the description. So, just to let you know where I'm at, I thought I would talk off the top here about some obvious ones that are not going to be on my top 10 list, but maybe on some others. Barbie. I really liked Barbie movie. I did. Because of Margot Robbie, obviously, right? But I thought that the script was really well done. It had a lot more of an emotional impact on people than I thought that it would, and including myself. Like when she says it right in the beginning, does anybody think about dying? And you realize, oh, well, this is a little bit more serious than I thought, and I really like this movie a lot. It just didn't crack my top 10. It'll be on there for some people. It's not even in my honorable mentions, although you're kind of honorably mentioning it now, right? So, another movie that'll be on some people's lists, but not on mine, the Mario movie, the highest grossing movie of the year. I had fun with this movie a lot, but come on, guys. It's obviously not best movie of the year. Fair. I know that it'll be out there for a lot of people. So let's get into my honorable mentions. And we'll start off with some December releases. The Boy and the Heron from Hayao Miyazaki. I really like this movie. It was this close to being on the top 10. I was going to kick out one of the horror movies, but then I was like, no, I really like this one. I like those ones too. And I made my top 10 based on what I would like to own in my catalog. How does that sound, guys? It's some movies that I would like to own. Now, I would like to own Boy and the Heron, but it's kind of like lower on the priority list when it comes down to my top 10. So Boy and the Heron is honorable mention. Another honorable mention is a Netflix movie that came out in January. Yes, guys, we don't forget everything here. The movie was called The Pale Blue Eye. And had that guy from Harry Potter in it, right? He was from Harry Potter? I can't remember. He wasn't Harry, though. Anyway, it's got Christian Bale. He's playing Poe, right? And there's like a bunch of murders going on at this military camp kind of thing. And Christian Bale's the investigator that comes in trying to figure out who done it. The Pale Blue Eye. Good performances all around. I really enjoyed that movie. Harry Melling. Yeah, that's right. Harry Melling. Honorable mention for that one. Another honorable mention goes out to Priscilla. Sofia Coppola directs. This one resonated with me afterwards because I didn't realize how young Priscilla was when Elvis started courting her. And I think all of that stuff, like, she was young, guys. She was still in high school. That one fly today. And that movie addressed that perfectly. Because it made you feel a little bit awkward about it. Dude, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not proper. It wouldn't fly today. But Kaylee Spaney as Priscilla was good, and Jacob Elordi as Elvis was also, he did fairly good. And we're going to see Jacob Elordi in one of my top 10 movies later on in a little bit. But I really like the cinematography. I like the production style of Priscilla, but it misses out. It gets an honorable mention. Another movie that gets an honorable mention that most people didn't like, but is on my honorable mention list, is Marlowe. Liam Neeson. Came out in February, was this? I really like this movie. Now, this was noir. Yeah. Neo-noir, right? Alan Cumming, Danny Houston. Great cast. The guy who played Mr. Echo in Lost is in this, and it's kind of like, once again, a detective story, a whodunit kind of thing. Jessica Lange was in this. That was really cool. Very different pacing, guys. It's long, it's drawn out, and it's kind of like that gumshoe trying to figure out what the heck's going on here, right? So I like Marlowe. I know that a lot of people didn't. Pfeiffer says, R.I.P. Ray Liotta, we lost him. Another honorable mention from December here, or I guess November, right? Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I felt like this was two movies crammed into one because there's the portion that deals with the Hunger Games, and then there's all the stuff with the political side of it, with President Snow being mentored to, by a game creator, and then like third on the priority list is that kind of love story, but it worked. And this is the first that I've seen Rachel Zegler in such a commanding role, so I was kind of like, I came out of this one pleasantly surprised, going, wow, The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, pretty good, man. Pretty good. Are we done with the honorable mentions yet? No, James, we got a few more to go through, just two more. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3. I liked a big portion of this movie. It kind of wavered a little bit towards the end when they were trying to, like, I thought maybe they pulled a few punches. They pulled a few punches. They should have killed off one of the main characters. If they did that, then this movie would definitely be in my top 10. But I really enjoyed it. Rocket Raccoon, and well, I thought that Chris Pratt did a good job as well, and it was a good send-off for this crew of Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this is when you think about trilogies, this is the perfect way to end your trilogy. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, honorable mention for sure. And then finally, Reptile on Netflix. I didn't think that I would like this one. It's got Justin Timberlake in this as kind of like salesman of like properties, and he's kind of like, is he a swindler? Did he kill somebody? It's got Alicia Silverstone in this, and Benicio del Toro. This one I also found stuck with me after I watched it. It was kind of like, I like those ones that linger with you and that say things, right? And you don't know if it's going to be a good message or not, because it's kind of like, well, did I like that? I'm still thinking about it. But that's the power of Benicio del Toro. The only other one that I thought that could be brought in and talked about is maybe May, December, because, okay, yeah, let's talk about May, December, because May, December is a little, like Reptile makes you think about it afterwards. May, December doesn't, it makes you think about it, but it has that bold statement of kind of like, well, this is about adultery and, you know, a weird actress that wants to follow that. That one stuck with you because it was the subject matter, right? But Reptile stayed with you because it's kind of like, well, no, that's somewhat good art, and I liked the corrupt police ring that was in it, and was like, well, wait a minute, am I part of that ring or am I not? I don't know what I am. What's going on here with this killer in the background? Reptile, murder, death all around. I like Reptile quite a bit. So those are my honorable mentions, guys. I know that that's a bit of to get through, but hey, this is my show. I can do whatever I want. All right, let's get into the top 10 movies of the year, starting off with number 10. And guys, this is no surprise to anyone. Again, this is based on movies that I want to own. I want to have in my catalog. So number 10, with with very much pleasure, is the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. But James, that's not a real movie. Well, hey, I saw it in the theater. I went out to the theater, and it was one of the best theatrical experiences of the year for me, because people were singing and dancing in the aisles, all down in front. All the kids were just jumping up and down. People were singing along with it, with a clapping afterwards. People were being respectful. And as you know, guys, I am a Taylor Swift fan, so I found this fantastic. And I want this on 4K. I'm going to get it. If Schober's here today, you'll have to let me know if this ever comes out on 4K, because I do want it. And I'm not the only one that liked this movie. So going over to the Rotten Tomatoes, 99% by critics, 98 by the audience. So yeah. And it did well at the box office as well. So it's kind of like, Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour movie is my number 10 pick. It's going to be up there, guys. I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, not for everybody, but I know, hey, as I said, it's what I want in my catalog, all right? Going on to number 9. Number 9 was a Netflix movie. Yes, Netflix does make good movies, guys. And they've got a small little trilogy being set here. by Chris Hemsworth called Extraction. And Extraction 2 was, if you want high octane action, high octane kind of pacing, then Extraction 2 is it. We watched this movie here, and I was so pleasantly surprised by this movie. Chris Hemsworth, like, look at that stunt work that he was doing there. That is awesome. You get sucked into it. And it's kind of like, this is on par with John Wick, which will also appear in this list. And they're quietly putting out this Extraction series on Netflix, and it's awesome, man. Some people may attack it for the quality of acting, but no, this all, like, Hemsworth is allowed to have a few scenes in here where he actually shows emotion, and he talks about him going off to war to hide about his, well, to not face the facts of what happened with his family and stuff like that. And you can see the pain and hurt in his eyes. And he's only got those few moments in that scene to sell it, because they want him to be the hard gripping action star for the rest of the movie. But he does a great job of marrying those two together. So Extraction 2, and the fact that they leave it kind of open for more to happen in this universe. It's kind of a bit like the John Wick universe, where you could have other things going on in this universe that, hey, I'd be on board for. And I think that I'm not the only one here that liked Extraction 2, 79 by critics, 85 by the audience. Guys, as I said, this is a quiet, cool actioner out there that I recommend for my number 9 spot. Extraction 2. Going on to number 8. The number 8 spot is a horror movie. Now, guys, I did my best of horror list yesterday. So, as I said, the number 1 and 2 spot could flip-flop. I could easily put that number 1 here. But I'm going with this movie because this one caught me off guard and totally caught me by surprise. It's a serial killer movie, a slasher flick. It's basically Back to the Future meets Scream. It's called Totally Killer. And basically what happens in this is that this Kiernan Shipka's character goes back in time to help, well, try to find who the masked killer is, but she's got to work with her teenage mom. It's like, what? And she's kind of like, the teenage mom is like the popular girl at school and belittles everybody. And it's kind of like a fish out of water kind of thing with her meeting her mother like that. But it's acted so well, and the script is punchy. The dialogue is just kind of like, this movie has absolutely no business being this good. To Catch a Killer, 87% by critics, 76 by the audience. Horror comedy, yeah, horror comedy is a good way to say it, because the dialogue in it just catches you off, like when they're being mean to her and stuff like that, and she's just reacting to it and saying, was that supposed to be an insult or something? Like, yeah, a lot of inside jokes, a lot of inside of, if you know your horror, then there's a lot of like fourth wall kind of breaking kind of thing. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about when I say this kind of thing, right? Yes. And it's just like, it's got some twists and turns in it too. Some, like, just like Scream movies, where it's like, I didn't know that person would be the killer, and Totally Killer ends up on my list. Number 8, Totally Killer. Totally worth checking out. It was on Amazon Prime, guys, so go check it out if you can. All right, moving on to my number 7 pick. And this one was tough. This one flip-flopped up and down in my list. It was in the top 5 for a while. Now it's in the top lower bottom. It's in the 7th spot. And if you haven't seen it, this movie has Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi and Archie Madekwe, Rosamund Pike. The cast in this is great. This movie is called Saltburn. Now, you're never going to quite look at a burial mound ever again after you watch Saltburn, in my number 7 spot. Weird things happen in this movie. Like, really weird things, mostly done by this guy here. It's kind of a mix of kind of like, people want to say that it's like the rich versus the poor, but it's more of kind of like, if you've ever seen the Talented Mr. Ripley kind of movie, it's a bit like that. Is he there to kind of like be a parasite to these people? Is he taking advantage of them, or are they taking advantage of him? Him taking advantage of them, or them taking advantage of him? Yeah. It's a good movie. Overall, and it's going to be one of those cult hits. This is going to be one of the cult movies where people will be talking about Saltburn for years to come later on down the line. Once the majority of people out there go out and see it and realize, oh, that's kind of a weird movie, but I kind of liked it. I kind of also didn't like it because it was saying some really mean things towards the end. And it's not just about class, about how people just relate to each other kind of thing, right? And you're like, wait a minute. We know that we're dealing with some kind of psychopathy here, but who's it from? I don't know. Is it from the rich people that look down their nose and have all these fun parties and they're shrill, or is it the other character played by Barry Keoghan? Yeah, Saltburn is it's good, and it's deserving to be in my top 10 list of the year for sure. So I know that I'm not the only one that thinks this is as well. Going over to the tomato meter, 71% by critics, 79% by the audience. And as I said, Barry Keoghan, once again, like last year, he was really good in Banshees of Inisherin. This year, he's got Saltburn. So he's putting up these performances that are like, yeah. And when he gets his chance to fly as Joker in Matt Reeves' Batman, like, he's probably not going to be in the Batman 2, but he's probably going to be in Batman 3, where there's going to be like 2 or 3 villains going after Robert Pattinson, and he's going to be one of them. And I can't wait to see that performance. But burial mounds, funerals, you're not going to look at them the same way after you watch Saltburn. Yeah. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 is another December movie that I just recently saw, and this one was also in the top 5 until recently, and then I had to bump things around. This one is called The Iron Claw, about the Von Erich brothers that have tragedy in their lives as they try to struggle to make it in the world of professional wrestling, and they did make it because they're in the Hall of Fame, man. I was surprised with how good the acting was in this. And I liked the performance by Zac Efron because he does a lot of the heavy lifting in this, because you follow his character as he kind of gets passed over by his other brothers and stuff. And he's putting in all the work physically. Harris Dickinson is in this. It's just really, really good. Really, really good. And I know I'm not the only one that says this. 89% by critics, 93% by the audience. It's just resonating with a lot of people. Jeremy Allen White also is good in this. Holt McCallany is also good in this, who plays the stern father to these 4 boys, and raises them to be kind of like hard workers, right? And as long as you work hard, you're going to have success. But that's not how the world works. You can work 80 hours a week on something very hard, very difficult, and it may not pay off. But that's kind of like what this movie is about, kind of. The old school thinking of the father, hey, as long as you put in the hard work, you're going to have success. Well, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, but in the real world, no. Sometimes the guy who lays on his bed, puts together a quick little 5-minute video of him just sitting there talking, will make 10 billion views, opposed to the guy who spent an hour or a month scripting and getting B-roll shots and putting all these nice tight edits, videos together, and it'll only get 10 views, right? That's not how it works. But I felt like Iron Claw did a great job of showcasing that, especially the relationships between the brothers. It put Jeremy Allen White on the map for me, because I hadn't seen a lot of his work. But he did a really awesome job in this. And it's kind of like, yeah, he's the guy on the motorbike here. He's kind of like the brother that went off to be an Olympian, and then he comes back to be a wrestler, and he becomes like the heavyweight champion, right? And then, of course, he has his tragedy that just kind of leads more and more down the rabbit hole of kind of like, is there a curse or there not? And Zac Efron plays it perfectly. Like, to have that hurt and pain behind his eyes, like that doubt of, is my family cursed or isn't it? Am I going to contaminate my the people that I love because of my last name? And it's like it deals with all of that really, really well. And it's kind of, yes, it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, and it stays with you. It stayed with me. It still is, kind of. And a lot of that has to do with Zac Efron and his performance. Uh, that's my number 6 pick, guys. The Iron Claw. What do you guys think? Let me know some of your picks in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Hey, if you like this kind of stuff, let's take a quick break here before we get in the top 5. Because, well, yes, we do have the best of list here coming up. That is up right now. But we also have the worst list that came out yesterday, where we talk about all the worst movies of the year. We talk about the best horror movies of 2023. That's also up on the channel right now. But we got movie reviews for Ferrari. Ferrari almost made my top 10 list. I should have put that as an honorable mention too, because I really like Ferrari. The Iron Claw review is up. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Oddly, is not on the best list of the year. I can't imagine why. Poor Things. Oh, is that going to be on our top 10 list? I think it will be. Wonka review is up right now because that's big in the theaters right now. Go check out that review. I really liked Wonka. And coming back this week will be Hell's Kitchen. Episode 12 comes out this Thursday. And of course, you got a little bit of a glimpse there of what the list is going to be. My best movie is 2023 is Maestro. Bifer says, okay, cool. Maestro, I still haven't finished watching it, guys. I think I'm just over an hour into it, and I'm struggling, which sucks because I like Bradley Cooper as a director. I like him as an actor, and I really like Carey Mulligan, who we just saw in Saltburn as well. The movie starts off with black and white stuff, which a lot of movies this year started off with black and white. Ferrari started off with black and white. Did Oppenheimer start off with black and white? A lot of them did. There was some, okay, I said this yesterday. There's something about an actor, when they change their voice and they start talking like this or doing, of course, Gotham, they change their voice to try to make the character. Well, that's what Bradley Cooper was doing for this character, or for this real life person. And it took me out of it too many times. Because I was like, well, that's not how Bradley Cooper talks. Is that really the way that that guy talks in real life? It was a slip up from Cooper, I guess. Or that's what he wanted. It just didn't work for me. Carey Mulligan worked. So I'm going to finish watching it for Carey Mulligan. But it's like, if I had to stop it because I'm not invested in it, like I don't care, like that's a failure on the director. That's a failure on the story, right? It's kind of like, well, guys, I'm a fairly lenient guy. I'm fairly lenient, and I will persevere. I will finish the movie, but it's kind of like, it's taking me a long time to do it, man. So, sorry, I don't mean to dunk on it, but it's kind of like, hey, you want to talk about movies? We're talking about movies. Okay, next. Let's get into the top 5. Where are we at? Top 5. But it has been a good year. A lot of choices. So, like, if you like Maestro, nothing against you, man. There's been a wide range of movies, artistic, art house type movies, and then there's nice, slick action movies, like John Wick Chapter 4, which is up there for me. Yeah, this is the one that kind of got bounced around a little bit. It was in the top 5 for me through the bulk of the year, because the action is just so intense and it's poetic. This movie, oddly, has a poetry to it, not only like in motion, but in like what happens to John Wick at the end in this movie, which I believe this. I want this to be the final John Wick movie, because his story is done. His story comes to a conclusion in the most satisfying way, and everything happens in a way where it's like, that's boss. That's wow. That's awesome. It was shot well. They went to all these different locations. They wrapped things up in a nice little bow, I thought. And John Wick Chapter 4 is my number 5 pick. 94 by critics, 93 by the audience. And I want to watch this again. I want this. This one would look awesome in 4K, I think. This one would look awesome because of the way that it was shot. It's got a bunch of like rich locations, Donnie Yen, and the fight scenes I think would look really spectacular in 4K. This guy wearing fat prosthetics. Scott, what's his name? What's his name, guys? Scott Adkins. Yeah, there he is. Scott Adkins. Yeah, it was full of like that kind of surprising performances kind of thing. Like, you never thought that Scott Adkins could pull that off, but he did. He was menacing. And I thought this movie was really well done. Like, look at the color palette here. The range of like the blues, the greens, the reds. It just pops. It pops. And I know that some people like, I too kind of like, well, that the big staircase sequence at the end went on a bit too long. Yeah, it was a bit too long, but my God, it was like, I'm just in awe when I think about some of these action sequences, and Donnie Yen throwing down with Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves, just like what I was saying about Chris Hemsworth earlier, he does his work. He puts in his time rehearsing all of these scenes, getting into shape, making it look like as real as possible, and that work pays off on the big screen. And John Wick Chapter 4 is my number 5 pick, guys, and that's all the way back in March. Great film. Great film. I'd be honored to have that in my catalog any day of the week. Number 4. This is a newer movie. And, oh, this is another one that starts off in black and white. Yeah, as I said, there's that trope going on. It's going to be like a signature of 2023 movies. Oh, if it starts off in black and white, then it must be from 2023, right? This movie is called Poor Things, with Willem Dafoe and Emma Stone, where basically she's kind of like a Frankenstein type monster, and Willem Dafoe's kind of like, well, Dr. Frankenstein. He's kind of like melded these animals and people together, and it's kind of like, what the heck is going on here? But it's just incredibly well written, and it doesn't hold any punches, man. If you like Saltburn because it didn't hold any punches, then you will like Poor Things, because she's out trying to discover herself, right? What does it mean to be a human? What is what are my instincts to eat food, to have relations? Is that the best way to say it? So she, discovers herself and discovers the world and this color palette. I said that Beau is Afraid and Asteroid City were kind of like these weird artistic art house style films with like these weird backgrounds and stuff like that. This is the movie that does it better. Yorgos Lanthimos does a fantastic job of crafting this world using weird shaped lenses to show you that weird things are happening. Again, this seems to be a year of like weird things happening, but it's shot well. The acting is great. Mark Ruffalo there is fantastic. He's kind of like the guy that thinks that he wants to take advantage of this woman to do furious jumping. Is that what they called it? Yeah. And then he's like enamored with her. Does he love her? Does he not? Mark Ruffalo this is like one of his better performances that I've seen in a while. But Emma Stone puts it all on the line here, and she knocks it out of the park. And so does Willem Dafoe. Everybody in this movie. So cinematography-wise, acting-wise, directing-wise, pacing-wise, it's all well done. And they shot the black and white stuff for black and white. They didn't just convert it afterwards and say, well, let's just put a black and white filter on it and we're shooting. No, they shot it for black and white, so you don't get the grain. Like you'll see some black and white where it's like grain. Well, that's because maybe they turned it on afterwards. No, it's crisp, and you can see that here, right? Because you can use lighting differently when it's black and white, and it's just kind of like one of those ones again that'll stay with you afterwards. It'll be kind of like, that was a weird movie, but I liked it, man. 93% by critics, 81 by the audience. So yeah, it's artsy fartsy kind of, but it's you gotta watch it because of the acting, because of the production design. Uh, Christopher Abbott is in this as well, right? Oh yes. Um, LA Times, a film that finds itself stupendously filmed and that any way unspools in a sort of parallel universe, despite supposedly taking place in 19th century Europe. Well, sort of, yeah. But guys, Poor Things, you saw my review, you saw my straight out of the theater reactions. It was just one of those ones where it's kind of like, that was nice. That was really surprising that that was as good as it was. Because you would think that sometimes the art house films have the chance of being pretentious, the chance of being kind of like, well, that's just for the people that wear like scarves around and like the hipsters, and but no, no, this has got that kind of appeal to it where it be kind of like this is the kind of movie that I think that like that crass. Uh, oh, how do I say this? Like last year, Babylon wanted to have this kind of crass uh, appeal to it where we dealt with sexuality and that kind of stuff. This does it so much better. Poor Things. It's so much on a higher level, right? Um, One of my favorite movies of the year for sure. Number 4. And I would love to have that in my catalog as well. So the top 3, guys, the top 3 movies here are movies that I would like to own, but they also took me by surprise on how good they were. Because they were kind of like, oh, well, yeah, we could kind of figure from this director it should be good. Um, but these movies, I left the theater going, or I've left the movie going, holy crap! These movies have no business being this good. And we'll start off with my number 3 pick, which was a movie that came over to Netflix, I believe from Hulu, and nobody's going to be talking about this movie because this is not going to be on anybody else's top 10 list of the year. This movie flew under the radar for a lot of people, and it's a shame because it's really good. If you like movies like um, Silence of the Lambs, that kind of like hard, gritty, uh, cops and robbers, kind of like we're going to find out who the murderer is. Then this movie, To Catch a Killer, is it with Shailene Woodley and Ben Mendelsohn. She's kind of like the Clarice Starling, and he's kind of like the mentor role of them trying to find out who this killer is, this mass killer. He kills a whole bunch of people in the beginning of the movie with like laser beams, like you can see that there from sniper guns, um, and it's just like there's a parallel storyline going on here where it's kind of like there's the bureaucracy, the politics of being a police officer and like obligations to the city of, oh, we're not catching the guy yet. And then there's kind of like that Silence of the Lambs kind of thing where it's kind of like, well, there's the bad guy out there. He's kind of leaving clues like he wants to be caught. And you know how Silence of the Lambs, when he like cuts people's faces off and stuff like that to get out of, to escape. And you were like, well, that's really gross. That's really dark. This movie goes down to that kind of level of darkness too. That's where I'm saying that this movie is surprising. I was like, I didn't expect it to go there. I didn't expect it to do that kind of gross body kind of kind of thing. And then there's a like a big monologue at the end by the bad guy that kind of like is like, oh wow. And who plays the bad guy in this? I don't want to say the actor's name because you'll be like, oh, of course that's the bad guy, but he does a good job, and so does Shailene Woodley in this too, because she's kind of like the fish out of water. She gets drug along with this into this investigation by Ben Mendelsohn. And it's kind of like, should I know what I'm doing here, but you have to trust me kind of thing, right? And then she stands up for herself at the end of this movie with the brass, and she's got a great monologue. The movie opens with a great monologue from Ben Mendelsohn to let you know that, oh, the dialogue is going to be done well. The acting in this movie is going to be done well. Cinematography is going to be done well. To Catch a Killer. As I said, I'm going to be like the only one championing this movie because critics were harsh on it. 64 by the audience as well. But this is going to be one of my more favorite movies of the year. It's in my third spot, and I would love to have this on Blu-ray. And the ending. If you don't want to go with the police, then come with me. Boom. Like, holy crap. That's horrifying. Yeah. Oh my God. If you know what if you've seen it, then you know what I'm talking about. But 51%, my God. This one's flying under the radar. Nobody's talking about it. But man, trust me, when you say, maybe that reveals a little bit too much there. But let's see what some of the people are criticizing here. It's moody but very messy. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. While it's always a pleasure to see Woodley in anything, I fear she's let down by a fairly pedestrian screenplay. No. You're not listening to me, guys. And you obviously didn't watch the movie because the movie, as I said, it opens with a great monologue and it sets the tone from Ben Mendelsohn, who it's just they've got some great scenes here where they bounce off of each other. Are you only taking me on this case because you want to have relations with me? And he's like, no, it's not. And then when you find out more things about him and his character, it's just like, oh, okay, well that's why he's not doing this. He really wants to catch this killer, and it's shocking because there's a scene in the mall here where, as I said, where if you like Silence of the Lambs or Red Dragon, because it does hold back with like what the criminals do, then To Catch a Killer is going to be up your alley, man. It's going to be your jam because the bad guy in this, he's relentless, and the proper things happen in the end, and I can't champion it enough. I'm a Shailene Woodley fan as well, Pfeiffer. Number 3, To Catch a Killer, and as I said, it's going to fly under a lot of people's radar. Well, that's why we're here. Okay, let's move on to number 2. This one was number 1 for the majority of the year. Now, it's no surprise. I'm a big fan of the director, Christopher Nolan. I just didn't think that it would be good enough based on the subject matter to be number 1. But this is a masterfully crafted film, Oppenheimer, and the acting all around from this stellar cast is phenomenal. And you're like, well, this movie's about nuclear fission. How could this possibly be this entertaining? But that just goes to the craftsmanship and the artistry that Christopher Nolan puts into this film, because it moves fast. It's longer for sure, but everybody brings their A game in this. I hope Cillian Murphy gets an Oscar for this. Matt Damon's good in this, but Emily Blunt is also fantastic in this, kind of like playing the wife of, I know what you're doing. I know you're building this terrible thing, but she stands by him. And there's scenes just like this where it's like, is it happening now? Is the test happening? I loved her performance in this. Like, you could pick any one of these things and you'd be like, Oppenheimer deserves to be here, man. Sound design, the seats rattled while watching this movie going off. And it's not just because of like the bomb going off. It's because there's this kind of like flashbacks of kind of things too that gives you like this really awesome sound design. And Cillian Murphy, just look at this part here, where it's kind of like he's getting praise here, but he's kind of like, should I be thankful for this praise? Or did I just develop a way for the human race to destroy itself? There's that doubt that's always in the back of his eyes. That's kind of like, once again, masterfully done. Robert Downey Jr., did we even talk about him yet in this movie? As I said, guys, this movie's just jam-packed with great performances. Robert Downey Jr. is, I think this is his best work in a long time. And I hope he gets nominated as well. Again, with the use of black and white stuff, showing like flashbacks and stuff. And you can tell that, again, this is stuff that was shot for black and white because it's not grainy, right? But that's Nolan for you. He's meticulous about his shots, about what he wants to achieve on film. And Oppenheimer is one that I would love to have in 4K. This is one where I wish that I went to see it in the IMAX, because, Nolan has that obsession with IMAX. And I think that probably would have looked awesome. 93% by critics, 91 by the audience. It's one of the higher grossing films of the year. Part of the Barbenheimer uh, thing that happened. So you know what it is. I just like, wow, cool, man, great cast. Matt Damon, Rami Malek, Florence Pugh. Did we talk about her either? Yeah, she was also really good in that movie as well. Um, some unexpected nudity as well, right? Whatever. It is what it is. Which brings us down to our number one movie. A movie that, well, I thought would be entertaining. A movie that I thought that I would like. But um, again, this movie shocked me with how good it was. Uh, because when I came out, I just had this big, huge smile on my face. And it was just not because of the big guy in the movie, but because of the human story going on in the background of this. Of course, is Godzilla minus one. And this movie, this movie had no business, again, well, maybe it does. Maybe I need to stop saying that because you care about the characters. This kamikaze pilot that kind of wimps out of doing his job, lives with the shame of not doing his duty, has an opportunity to make this family. And this little girl, like her parents dying, and it's kind of like he's trying to take care of her, and it's kind of like you get invested in that story with them. And you get invested to the point where when Godzilla comes and he starts breaking things apart, you're like, please don't hurt that person. Please don't hurt that person. And it's heartbreaking when you see some of the people that you care about get hurt. And Godzilla is a monster in this. He's not like that token, like pseudo anti hero. Like, I wish the American movies would stop with that kind of stuff. But the visual effects in this are great. Godzilla throwing down is great. And as I said, there's that human story in there. When one of them die, it's kind of like you're just like this guy. Your heart is breaking. And they have to work collectively as a team at the end to try to beat Godzilla. And you're like, this movie was only made for like $15 million. How did they achieve this for a Godzilla movie? How is that possible? But I'm just like, this is one I would. This is the first one I'm going to buy on 4K. Godzilla minus one. Um, as I said, coming out of this, I was just like, how is this possible that this movie is so great, that it was so well done? 2 hours, you don't feel that. It moves pretty fast. It uses exposition properly. And when Godzilla shows up, guys, don't worry. You get enough of Godzilla doing his stuff. 98% by critics, 98 by the audience. Godzilla minus one is my number one movie of the year, hands down. Um, I want to watch it again. That's the mark of a good movie, right? You just want to watch it over and over and over again. Irish Times. This prequel similarly yokes human imperialism, post-war malaise, survivor guilt, and weaponized atomic power to produce the best action film of the year. Well, it's not quite action. That's you shouldn't sell it as an action film. It's a drama, but it's a drama with a big kaiju monster running around attacking uh, Japan, or Tokyo, right after the first Hiroshima bomb, right? So it's kind of like, oh yeah, oh god, the pictures, oh my god, yeah, that she draws, it's great. And yet, as I said, there's a team there of people that worked on the boat, that come up with a plan to beat them. So you're rooting for the team, every member of the team. So Godzilla minus one, guys. This is my number one pick of the year. I can't believe I'm saying it. What were your guys' number one picks? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll talk about it. Pleasantly surprised. So let's recap. Number 10 was Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. Number 9, Extraction 2. Number 8 was Totally Killer. Number 7, Saltburn. Number 6, The Iron Claw. Number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. Number 4, Poor Things. Number 3, To Catch a Killer. Number 2, Oppenheimer. And number 1, Godzilla -1. And I have absolutely no shame in saying that because, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my God. Um, I'm I'm just like, I want to watch Godzilla now. That's all I really want to do. What were you guys' favorite movies of the year? Did I miss anything? Hey, and as I said, if you want to see my favorite horror and my worst list of the year, that's up on the channel right now. Maybe I covered some of your favorite horror movies out there as well that were not on this list. As I said, between Totally Killer and Saw 10, you could switch those back and forth. I still like kind of like the motif of the first three. Totally Killers was one where I was kind of like, well, and I saw 10. It's like, I had no idea that they would be that good. Really, I had no idea. I had no idea that Godzilla -1 would be the #1 movie of the year, but it is. It's better than Oppenheimer? No. Oppenheimer is a better, well, Oppenheimer technically is a better movie and probably still would be #1 on a lot of people's list, but I'm basing it just on the surprise factor of holy crap, a Godzilla movie is #1. All right, so that wraps up my list for the year, guys. We are going to maybe do a most anticipated list for 2024 later on this afternoon, like we did yesterday. But for right now, oh yeah, the holdovers. Arglass says, yeah, the holdovers would be in my top 10 spot. We can talk about that quickly because I did like the holdovers. Paul Giamatti did a great performance in it. Alexander Payne, though, stuff is coming out about him, but it was a good movie. It was kind of like, here's the strict teacher, and then a bunch of kids have to stay over the Christmas break at the school, and he's got to kind of like the holdovers for the Christmas break have to get, well, I guess not parented, but kind of like looked after. And Paul Giamatti has to take that responsibility on, and he does a good job. He's got a deep, his character is fairly deep, right? It was good. I'll acknowledge that. Most anticipated, Mufasa in DP3. Most anticipated. Can I challenge you? Saw 10 was not your #1, but it didn't make your top list films. Well, yeah, I thought I explained that. Yesterday, as I said, Saw 10 and Totally Killer could easily have been swapped for the spot. And when I made this list originally, Totally Killer was the #1 pick for the longest time as the best horror. But I'll leave that for the lists because Saw 10 took. I put Saw 10 as #1 because for horror, because that really is more traditional horror. To Catch a Killer is kind of like got comedy mixed in there as well, and I wanted a more traditional horror to be the #1 in the horror list in the top 10 horror. Um, are there any other movies that we could be talking about? Let me pull up my list here. That some people will be talking about. Shazam! Fury of the Gods? No, people won't be talking about that. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That could be one that people will be talking about. I like The Little Mermaid. No Hard Feelings, I also liked. Nobody's talking about Mission Impossible 7. Run, Rabbit, Run, maybe. Sorry, I'm just looking at my top. I'm looking at the description box, guys. I'm just looking through the list. Killers of the Flower Moon. Let's talk about that. Because that's going to be on a lot of people's lists, and it's not on mine. Yeah, let's talk about that. May December is on many people's list. I addressed that one in the beginning. I think I addressed May December when I talked about Reptile, right? So Killers of the Flower Moon will be up there for a lot of people, but it's not for me, and it's not because of the subject matter that it's about um, Caucasians taking advantage of indigenous people. It's because it's it's too long. The 3 hours and 40 minutes is too long. It gets a bit too redundant when you think about it. It's well acted, and it, the pacing does move at times, but it does have some shortcomings, and a lot of that I think is directing. I think Martin Scorsese was not willing to cut certain things out that I think, as I said, I think are redundant. Lily Gladstone was good in it, and she's pretty much one of the. I right now it feels like she's the only lock right now to get for best actress. This movie has a lot of other technical stuff in it, like it's well shot, it's well cinematography is great in it. Um, Leonardo does a great like overall cohesive performance, but there's no scene in it. For some, maybe in the jail cell, I could see that will be a scene that'll be like that's the Oscar scene. But I don't know, man. It's not on my list. It's just it's not one that I want to revisit again. And maybe it's because of the subject matter. It's not, but that's not the case because other movies here had some difficult subject matter, like To Catch a Killer, had very difficult subject matter. Saltburn had difficult subject matter. Poor Things. Um, but I want to watch those again. I just don't want to watch Killers of the Flower Moon. I probably won't ever watch that movie ever again. I'm sorry, Leo. I'm sorry. May December is on my mini people number one of 2023. Yeah, we can talk about May December once again. I liked May December more than I thought that I would, and it was a hard movie to, as I said, because of the subject matter. Once again, difficult subject matter of a teacher, 36-year-old teacher, having an affair with a grade 7. And the acting is good. I acknowledge that, right? I acknowledge that it's good. It's just, it's not one. Oh, I think maybe I would watch it again, maybe because of Natalie Portman's portrayal of like the actor trying to figure out what was going on in her head to have this affair with a grade 7, right? And then she kind of tries to emulate. There's a horrific element to it that I think that if they had pushed a few more of those buttons, it would have gone there. Like with her being really creepy of trying to emulate her. Like see how she's trying to mimic her body movements there. Like if they did more of that and maybe gave her a little bit more of the Annie Wilkes vibe from like Misery, then maybe it would have been a little bit higher on my list. Our Glass says The Creator. Good call. I forgot about that one. I like The Creator. Visually, it was a stunning film. It had a little bit of a pacing issue story wise. Gareth Edwards, I think, is a very talented filmmaker. It was drawing from these narratives that we all kind of recognized before: children of men, men on fire kind of thing. I got to protect this little child kind of thing that, well, sort of isn't a child, it's an AI kind of thing. Am I going to put my life on the line for it? Like visually, Gareth Edwards, uh, he has a good style, and I'm waiting. Like, yes, he did monsters, and he did the first Godzilla, American Godzilla, Rogue One. Uh, but I wanted to see him go back to more stuff like this, and it's a shame that this one didn't do as well at the box office, because it wasn't made for a bunch of money. It's just maybe it was a little too sci-fi for some people out there, but I really liked it. Um, I like the production design. He's a little bit like Neil Blomkamp. No, he's better than Neil Blomkamp because Neil Blomkamp has had a few misses, but he's like Neil Blomkamp in the sense that he works with a smaller budget with this wide vision to achieve these visual effects, and he pulls it off masterfully. Creator, yeah, I'll give my nod to that one as well. All right, let's just go over to the Twitterverse and see if we can pick up any trending headlines for the new year here. Eileen will be released on VOD tomorrow. Oh, that's that Anne Hathaway, Thomas and Mackenzie one. I wanted to see that one too. Official Instagram account for Interview with a Vampire. Teases the second season. Movies turning 10 in 2024. Whiplash, Interstellar, Gone Girl. Most movies turning 20. Mean Girls, Before Sunset, The Incredibles, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's a tough watch, too. Very good. Excellent movie. Right? Zendaya, Challengers, and Dune Part 2. Yeah, Zendaya's going to have a good year, too. I'm really looking... Dune... This is why I want to do most anticipated, because Dune Part 2 is going to be up there. Challengers. Luca Guadagnino. I don't know about that. He's hit or miss for me. Mickey 17 will be released this year. Robert Pattinson. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Ollie Adieu. Yeah. Happy birthday to Angori Rice. How do I recognize her? She was in Honor. It's her birthday. What? Why am I not placing it right now? Spider-Man No Way Home, Betty Brant. The last thing he told me. Mean Girls musical. Okay. In New Girl Me movie. She played Ned's GF in Spider-Man. Oh, okay, yeah, that's who that was. And she was in Nice Guys. Right. School of Rock is now on Netflix. Mamma Mia is now on Netflix. Just a bunch of stuff on Netflix, huh? Paul Mescal. That's a good picture, eh? Cool. Carey Mulligan, Lily Gladstone, Margot Robbie, Annette Bening, Emma Stone, and whoever that is. Sorry. James, that's so ignorant. Don't you know that you're stepping on the feet of people or in the hands of people that think that you should know everybody? Greta Lee, that's who that is. Greta Lee, sorry. Okay, fine. I'll finish watching Maestro for Carey Mulligan. There you go. I'll watch it this afternoon. I'll try. I'm still trying to hunt down a copy of Anatomy of a Fall. But I like this picture, and I'm going to give that the old heart symbol. Ethan Hawke on the way to next. Happy New Year, all. We didn't talk about Leave the World Behind, which I also I liked Leave the World Behind. I know that Byford didn't like it, but I liked it because of the performances. And Ethan Hawke had a good performance in Leave the World Behind. What is your most anticipated for 2023? Yeah, we'll talk about that later, perhaps. Game of Thrones, Boy and the Heron. All right. Everybody's just putting out their list. I think that's pretty much it today, guys. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow with more movie news. Maybe I should just enjoy the rest of the day. Is that possible? Is that allowed? Who knows? We'll see how it goes. If not, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Looking forward to getting into this next year. And hey, we'll have to roll with the punches with my work schedule, guys. We will be back watching Hell's Kitchen this week, so I'm looking forward to that. Maestro Watch Party, no. I'm not rewatching the first 45, 50 minutes of it just so we can watch it together because it was just. I like Sarah Silverman being in it. That's thumbs up. Why wasn't that in the marketing for Maestro? Huh? Why wasn't Sarah Silverman? I'm. If you didn't know, I have got somewhat of a small crush on Sarah Silverman. But I'm thinking Maestro right now is maybe it was trying to emulate what Ferrari was doing, where yeah, he had infidelity or something, and he was trying to balance that with his work life. I think Maestro and Ferrari will mirror each other. Maybe okay, fine. I'll finish watching Maestro this afternoon, and I'll let you know what my reaction is later on. Okay, that's it, guys. I got to get some breakfast in me. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here on Mirror Domains.